JJ being the new head coach.
Listen, as Ramona was saying, ever since he interviewed with the Toronto Raptors for a spot on their staff, he got the bug, and he thought this will be his destiny in this game. He's accomplished so many other things when it comes to basketball, but he really felt like he had something to give to today's game and used all the basketball acumen he's picked up over the years from Coach K at Duke, playing for a championship head coach, a guy with championship pedigree with Doc Rivers, a long portion of his career with the LA Clippers. And you know, he's a guy who's succeeded pretty much everything that's come his way in this sport. He was ahead of the game when it came to podcasting. It wasn't just him doing Mind the Game with LeBron James. While he was a player, he was doing a podcast with Bill Simmons and The Ringer. And you know, I just think it's a worthy gamble. There's risk involved. He's never coached a game other than for his children, but it's a worthy gamble. And he's going to step in with the confidence and I think the self-assurance it takes to stand in the storm that happens almost every year with the Lakers and with LeBron James teams.
JJ Redick, new coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. The question that I would ask is this the new Pat Riley, as some are alluding to? Or is this simply LeCoach? You know, the questions are out there. And I think that in the world that we live in today, and it's been this way obviously for a long period of time, I think many people are troubled by JJ Redick's lack of coaching experience, to say the least. He has none on any level, as far as we know, outside of maybe coaching his kids at a youth level. There's no experience for JJ Redick. I think the part, though, that troubles a lot of people is who didn't see this coming? You know, this is, I say this because how did you not see this coming? I mean, obviously the Lakers made a play for Danny Hurley, who's now become a legendary coach at Connecticut with back-to-back NCAA championships and trying to go for an unprecedented, in the modern era, three-peat, being the last team to repeat since, I believe, the Florida Gators, which was led by Joakim Noah and recent NBA champion Big Al Horford. So of the Boston Celtics. So, but who didn't see this coming? The Lakers interviewed no one other than Danny Hurley, and LeBron James is doing a Mind the Game podcast, I believe it is, called with JJ Redick, where they discuss X and O's and everything else, and quite frankly, is there to prop up the legacy even more shamelessly for LeBron James. JJ Redick has said a lot of things that I find and many of the old veterans find to be disheartening and frustrating and quite frankly disrespectful. And so what we now are seeing, though, is LeCoach, aka JJ Redick, a smart guy on the surface, says a lot of smart sounding things, and he may be very well maybe intelligent, not saying he's not, but what we tend to see is people getting credit for being articulate and speaking well in terms of the X and O's in basketball. But you can't have an X and O statement and be smart and say, oh, he's the most brilliant guy in the world, and then turn around and say that Bob Cousy played against plumbers. When you're not half the player that Bob Cousy was as an NBA legend. So these are some of the questions that I'm going to bring out today. So this show we're calling LeCoach, LePuppet. And LeMedia knows no shame because now LeCoach appears to have people that we know. Nick Wright, I call Nick wrong, is a LeCoach or Clutch client. That has been brought out by even, I think, I forgot his name, Doug Gilbert or whatever his name was. That's got the he got his own podcast and radio show. But he made that comment and brought it out. And so now Nick Wright and Tom, I think his name is Haverstrom, have come out with an article trying to discredit Michael Jordan's Defensive Player of the Year award with a hatchet job with no video evidence that he shows. Just all the numbers are a little askew playing home, or a lot askew playing at home in a way. And what was a steal probably shouldn't have been a steal. You open up a can of worms when you try to do this. And it's all about trying to push LeBron up. So that's why I said this show is LeCoach, LePuppet, LeMedia knows no shame. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. Stay tuned, because I'm royally pissed. Royally pissed.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually, tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
And we're back. That was the superroth.com. Check it out, the Super Roth. You can also catch that at Figwell Partners. And as I said in leading up to the show, I'm pissed, royally pissed. You guys may be familiar with Key and Peele's show where they were doing the Republicans and being overly conservative, and they kind of had that skit on I'm pissed, royally pissed. Because I'm sitting here and I'm looking at some of the outrageousness that has come about with what I believe is LeMedia. And I just find it to be, I don't know, where did we get to at this point? And I mentioned it earlier about JJ Redick getting hired as the Los Angeles Lakers head coach, and without any coaching experience whatsoever, and having this Mind Your Game podcast with LeBron that was set up while LeBron was during the season. And one of the things that I found so egregious in that particular, when I watched just a clip here and there of their episodes of their podcast, because I already knew what it was going to be. And one of them was LeBron, who at the time back in 2011, where he just had one of the greatest meltdowns ever of a superstar player of his caliber. And he literally says, when people forget that he was the same guy when the season first started with the Miami Heat, that he was the one that said not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7 championships that he predicted with him, superstar MVP, finals MVP, one of the top 3 or 4 players in the world at that time in Dwayne Wade, another top 10 guy in Chris Bosh, which is why he was so excited. And they referred to the Miami Heat as the Heatles. That's what their name. Everyone was upset that they joined forces. Everywhere. How they joined forces with these 3 max guys. Dwayne Wade actually took less money so that they could bring on other players. But during this Mind the Game podcast, LeBron proceeded to say, with JJ Redick sitting there with this look on his smug look on his face, as if, yeah, tell him, LeBron, we didn't have enough complementary pieces. What? We didn't have enough complementary pieces. You had a supers team in the Eastern Conference. You got through the Eastern Conference with a super team, and you were leading in the NBA Finals 2-1 against the Dallas Mavericks. And then proceeded to lose 3 straight games because you said at the time, I just wasn't there. No problem. Give you all the credit in the world for owning it. Then he tries to change the narrative and recreate and rewrite history by saying that we didn't now have enough complementary pieces. What? And they just sat there both agreeing with each other and looking like it really wasn't my fault again. When it was. Dwayne Wade averaged 26 and would have been finals MVP if his partner in crime, LeBron, had done his job when he was only averaging 17 for a superstar of his magnitude. But JJ was complicit sitting there and not challenging LeBron when he made that statement. So how do you think JJ Redick is going to challenge LeBron when he doesn't like a play and LeBron goes against what JJ's saying? Anyone that thought Danny Hurley was actually going to leave Connecticut for the Lakers, that was, let's make a good look and let's put on a good show and act like we're going to try to go grab the biggest name in college and make everyone seem happy, knowing very well that he's probably not going to leave Connecticut, UConn. He's got a cushy job in Stores, Connecticut. He's got a dynasty, and he's going to leave for the mess called the Lakers. Lakers. He's going to leave for that? A team that finished 7th in the Western Conference with Anthony Davis, a top 10 NBA player in his prime, and LeBron James, one of the top 10 greatest players that's ever played the game, and still playing at a high level because in this modern age, they don't really play defense. That's why everybody was so excited about the Minnesota Timberwolves, because we actually saw defense in the playoffs when they played against Denver. That's why we were like, oh, 90s defense is back all of a sudden. This is why we were excited about what the Nuggets were doing. And Ant-Man reminded us of the greatest of all time in Michael Jeffrey Jordan. That's why we were excited and had some Kobe-ness into his game. We saw defense and a guy that looked like, is this the heir apparent? That's why people were excited. But no, LeBron, who got gentlemen swept in the first round by the Denver Nuggets, who have no bench, who beat them with Joker, Jamal Murray hitting big shots. But if you look at roster to roster, the Lakers have a better roster than the Denver Nuggets do. Anthony Reeves can play. Rudy can play. D'Lo can play, even though he gets discredited and he gets all the blame because this is what happens when you play with LeBron and you don't bail him out, you get all the blame. So now I want to see how JJ Redick, and I want to see if we have that clip for his press conference with him speaking at the press conference. I'll see if I have it. If not, I'm not going to worry about it. But well, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about it. At the end of the day, JJ has an opportunity to potentially be the Pat Riley. He's got the look. You know, he's looking smooth. He's looking suave. He's got his suit together. He keeps himself looking polished. So in that sense, oh, maybe he's a Pat Riley. Maybe he's the next Pat Riley because he's got that same slick look, nice dress suit, you know, got himself well groomed. He looks like, oh, maybe this is the new Pat Riley. Maybe. But no history, no, nothing, not even an assistant. At least Pat was an assistant on that same Lakers staff with Paul Westphal before he was replaced. He had experience being an NBA champion with the Knicks. JJ has none of that. He's a career guy that averaged, I believe, 12 points a game. Oh, that was his high, I think. So now we're going to trust the NBA franchise. We can talk about with JJ. We can talk about, you can talk about the Boston Celtics, possibly, as because they now have 18 championships. That's a whole nother conversation, whether you believe it's the Lakers or the Celtics, as far as which franchise is the franchise. That's a comment for me. I think the Celtics won a lot of their championships during an era where there wasn't as many teams. So I think that I kind of give the credit to the Lakers in that sense, because the championships for the Celtics was so far spread apart. A lot of them in the 60s, maybe one or so in the 70s, maybe one or two in the 70s, I believe. They had three with Larry Bird led Celtics in the 80s, and then they had one with KG and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo in 2008. But for here and there, that whatever, you can argue with your mama about which one is the best and which one franchise is not. That's not really the conversation that I'm thinking about. But I will say that either way, giving JJ Redick the keys to the Bugatti, which is the Los Angeles Lakers as far as history and glamour and where people want to play, is a real risk. And Rob Pelinka, his Rob low-looking self, could be out of a job if this doesn't work well. I know JJ just got a 4-year contract with the Lakers. We'll see if he stays that long. I don't believe LeBron will be there for all 4 years. I sure hope not. I am ready for him to retire, so we can see the new era of these guys. And because what we've seen in the playoffs was the new era in the NBA with Anthony Edwards and Luka Doncic and all of the guys and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. This is what you're seeing now. Some of the younger guys stepping to the forefront. Shea Alexander-Gilgeous and a lot of those guys that are just, really good players. Let me see if I can find that interview. If I don't see it, I'm not going to worry about it, but I think I have it with JJ Redick talking with his interview.
Redick's biggest challenge with the Lakers. Well, look, aside from the obvious, which is a young first-time head coach, being able to walk that line between having command but also understanding the deference that you have to have at coaching at the NBA level. So that's just something he's going to have to learn over time. But for me, it's meeting unrealistic expectations. If you're in LA, unfortunately for JJ, and you got LeBron on your roster, people think that means you're in championship contender mode, that you're on that level. And the truth is, the team's just not good enough. And particularly, they're not building your teams. We're constantly climbing on the ladder when you get to go on the road repeatedly, series after series, against teams with younger star players, with deeper talent pools. So the expectations are going to be there, but it doesn't match up with what this looks like and the lack of flexibility that they really have on their to prove to a certain degree. So that's going to be the toughest thing for JJ.
And I would have to agree with the sentiments that was spoken by Tim Leggs. And Leggs, I thought, covered it pretty well. I think he did a good job of sort of explaining that whole situation. As far as JJ Redick is concerned and his ascension to the throne. But one of the questions that I saw, and I was reading this, and I'm going to take a break out to this because I want to get into this ridiculousness that is now going on with LeBron's led media or Rich Paul or whoever's behind it. But a lot of the question is, did this podcast lead to this job? And I'm going to say yes, without question. And was it calculated? And I believe it was orchestrated behind the scenes. And why people find it to be disrespectful, because JJ, with no previous experience. All of a sudden, we didn't even know LeBron and JJ Redick were even friendly like that, but we know that LeBron is very calculated in what he does. And so working with JJ Redick as opposed to Draymond Green, who's a Clutch client and a friend, I think he played that game very well. Knowing that Draymond was obviously not going to be a coach, but Rich Paul, it says in the Uninterrupted, which is it's a podcast that's produced by LeBron and Mavericks Carter, where athletes, get to go in there and say different things. But the Redick Lakers head coaching rumors, it started to pop after before the 7th episode. And Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul, he had made a statement saying LeBron is not involved. This is a Lakers decision. Right. Sure. JJ is a friend. We respect JJ. I know LeBron and JJ have the podcast, but just because they have a podcast, the Lakers have to make a decision for now and later. And whatever that decision is, that'll be an organizational decision. It's as simple as that. Cap. It's not as simple as that. And he's been capping a lot. We have the upcoming draft coming up, and he made some comments about, LeBron James Jr. and entering the NBA draft. This show it would take too much time to talk about that. Maybe we'll cover that after the draft. But, their particular record, I think, as they went against each other during their playing careers, their careers sort of overlapped. And so they did have, I think they faced off maybe 30 times in the regular season, and they had 2 playoff series against each other. And LeBron has the winning record against his coach, which is kind of a silly thing if you want to say winning record against someone, because I see LeBron fans do that when they talk about LeBron versus Kobe's head to head, but they don't talk about when they actually guarded each other, how Kobe shot 54% and LeBron shot only 27.5%. That's a whole nother conversation. They want to use those records, but then they don't want to use that Steph Curry has beaten LeBron and has a winning record against LeBron, or Tim Duncan has a winning record against LeBron. They don't want to use that. Okay, yeah, I'm a little petty. And I told you, I'm royally pissed. And so this is why some of the things that I'm seeing in the media, so it's just unbelievably, I'm trying to find the right words. It's unbelievably crass. It's unbelievably lacks any sort of class. It's just, they stoop to new lows is what I'm seeing. So Redick averaged in those games looks like 13.2 points a game, 2.2, which is respectable, and 2.1 assists when he played against James. Well, obviously LeBron, obviously the far better player, averaged 27 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 8 assists. I guess he had 8 assists. Now, since we want to open up those can of worms, we'll see if he did actually have 8 assists. And so now they have obviously this podcast where they are working together. And it is what it is. So what will happen with the hire? We'll see. Will JJ have a good impact on LeBron and the team? We shall see as history moves along. But I do believe, as I've called this show, LeCoach, LePuppet, LePodcast. So we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're not going nowhere. We just got to pay some bills and make sure people know to support those who help support us. But we are not going anywhere. We ain't going nowhere. Well, I don't want to do that, but I'll just say we're not going nowhere. But here's a little bit
Looking
of a
to protect your
commercial
legacy and leave your family in solid financial health by establishing a living will or trust, but you're not sure where to start? At Fig Wealth Partners, you can get comprehensive, budget-friendly wills and trust planning. Thanks to the powerful Estate Guru software, you get access to the attorneys you need anywhere in the nation. Wills and trust planning starts as low as $699, but with the promo code #SportsBucks, you'll get $100 off regular fees. Get started at FigWealthPartners.com.
Recover Now is a national campaign aimed at the education and awareness of the devastating effects of opioid and heroin abuse and curbing drug and alcohol addiction in the United States. Recover Now is sponsored by treatment facilities nationwide. Many of them have been where you are, and they want to help by spreading a message of hope and recovery. They're working hand in hand with major insurance companies nationwide that can help you or a loved one get clean in 7 to 30 days. Recover Now is embarking on a national outreach campaign on TV and radio to promote anti-addiction messages. So if you, a loved one, or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, do not wait. A new life for you could be 30 days away. Call us right now. I promise this call can change your life. Sponsored by the Detox and Treatment Helpline.
800-936-5087. 800-936-5087. That's 800-936-5087.
Getting health insurance doesn't have to be expensive. At Ford Insurance Group, affordable health care is back. Small to mid-sized businesses and self-employed independent contractors can get health insurance plans for up to 60% less than what you'll find at other brokers. Ford Insurance Group offers group health big employer association rates, exclusive zero-deductible health plans, human resources outsourcing from professional employer organizations, ACA insurance plans as low as $0, and disability income coverage to protect your income and the income of your business, as well as your key employees. Ford Insurance Group customizes plans for each client, giving you maximum flexibility and protection. Find out what Ford Insurance Group can do for you online at FordInsuranceGroup.com or call 980-281-1700. That's 980-281-1700.
And it just dropped a few minutes ago. How do you have all this info? I might have been aware that something like this was coming. I might have been behind the scenes consulting on the project. I don't know. Yeah. I'm just here for a fair and accurate reading of NBA history. That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted. You know, you might say, Nick, if you haven't read it and it just dropped a few minutes ago.
So that was Nick Wright making the comment about his alleged behind the scenes workings of the stats. This article by Tom Habishow, who tried to go back and look at Michael Jordan's numbers in the year he won Defensive Player of the Year and has tried to discredit it. This is what I talked about before about LeMedia knows no shame. Nick sits there and he laughs and he's got this smirk on his face like I may have had something to do with it. And sadly, he doesn't see the clown, the buffoonery, the LeCaking, the lack of media credibility that he now has displayed. Because when you open up that can of questioning, the guy is 6-0. He's three-peated twice. He led the league in scoring. That cannot be debated. 10 times. 10 times. He was injured one of those seasons where he couldn't lead it, and he came back after missing all but 80, all of maybe 68 games or 65 games or whatever it was when he came back to join them after he went and played baseball. So those 2 seasons don't even apply. And then, obviously, he came back as a much older player when he was with the Washington, now it's called the Washington Wizards, which he played 82 games as a 40-year-old and still averaged over 20 with a knee injury and had that team on the verge of making the playoffs before he got hurt. But now they want to say that the steals that Michael Jordan received or credited for steals were embellished. Okay. So this is why Nick is smiling. So let's share. I'm going to share my screen because there's no shame now. So now you can't discredit the 6 championships. We saw it. We can't discredit the MVPs, the finals MVPs, the undefeated record in international play. You can't discredit the impact of the Jordan brand on current culture. You can't discredit the 10 scoring titles, the 3 steals titles, the what you're trying to discredit. I guess they can try to discredit that because they're saying that his home stats were a lot greater than his road stats. And not understanding how road games worked and how they were back-to-backs. When you're on the road, you had more time to rest. But okay, let's go ahead, and I want to share my screen. I want to take a look at the article, which is reeked in biasness. And let's take a look at it. This is courtesy of Yahoo Sports. Tom Haberstraw is the contributing writer. He starts off the article by saying it may be the most consequential Defensive Player of the Year award in NBA history. Now, first of all, why is it the most consequential? Because the LeBron James fan base and media believes it is the one thing that LeBron can't argue or should have in his trophy room that Michael Jordan has. And he feels he should have it as well. Well, what the LeBron fan base cannot say and cannot argue with is LeBron has never won 3 championships in a row. LeBron has never had a sequence in an NBA Finals game where he had the shot, which then led to the steal, which then led to the shot, which won the NBA Finals for his 6th NBA championship, never having gone 7 games. What they will do is try to disrespect the people that Michael Jordan played against, as if these weren't all-time great players, and Karl Malone and John Stockton and Charles Barkley. And that Phoenix Sun team that won 60-something games, Dan Marley was a stellar defensive player and a great athlete that would dunk on you. So would Kevin Johnson. But because Michael's team was the dynasty because of him. Yes, Scottie Pippen helped. But was Scottie Pippen a great offensive player? Could you go to Scottie Pippen in the clutch and say, hey, bring us home? No. So anyone that's old enough to have watched the Bulls play knew that. And if you look at the averages for Scottie Pippen during the course of the 96 through 98 finals, he only averaged 17 points a game. Or under 16, about 16 and something in those series. And in that deciding game 6, when Jordan won in 98, Scottie had 8 points in that game. But LeBron fans will tell you he never won without Pippen. So now you got Pippen, who is the most bitterest. I don't understand. You don't need a friend like that. Michael always gave Scottie credit. But now y'all want to give Scottie too much credit. And then there's this thing out there saying, who is the greatest duo, Jordan and Pippen? No, it's not. Jordan was miles better than Scottie Pippen. Pippen was his running mate because that was his guy, who he helped make better, a better player. The greatest duo in NBA history is Shaq and Kobe. Those were 2 alpha dogs. Those were 2, you take over, I take over. That's the dynamic duo. And Shaq's numbers were greatly enhanced in the finals. Kobe's numbers going through the rugged West is what helped them get to the finals. Shaq's numbers was not as dominant when he went against David Robinson and Tim Duncan and going through the Chris Webber, Vlade Divac Kings and going up against the Portland Trailblazers. He was not as dominant against those guys. He was dominant because the East was nowhere near as good. Their best team they played in the East when they three-peated was the first team they played in the Indiana Pacers. That was a solid, good basketball team. Very good basketball team. Would beat a lot of people today. But the other two, the Brooklyn, I'm sorry, not the Brooklyn, they were the New Jersey Nets, was not that good. And they beat Allen Iverson and Dikembe Mutombo in the very offensively challenged Philadelphia 76ers in 5 games. Gentlemen's sweep. Swept them 1-4 in a row after they lost the first game. But Allen Iverson legendarily stepped over Tyronn Lue. See, but as you read this article, Michael Jordan in the article was crushed and upset because he did not win the defensive player the previous year, and he actually should have. I'm going to show you some numbers, and I'm going to show you why he should have won. This is, without a doubt, going to be too long of a show for me to go through this article in its entirety. But I'm going to tell you something. Nowhere in the article does he give video proof that Jordan was given credit for steals. Nowhere does he show a video where Jordan is getting steals when he shouldn't have gotten it. Nowhere. As a matter of fact, there was a gentleman who did a fine job of debunking this entire article. And I'm going to kind of go over it. I'm going to stop sharing this article because it's such trash. And it's a hatchet job because at the very end, he talks about how LeBron didn't win. But let me just give you a couple of different stats. So what Tom tries to show is in 1997 NBA steals leader by home road splits. On the road, it says Jordan had 94. At home, 165. Alvin Robertson, who was Defensive Player of the Year, I believe at one point, or I'm not sure when he won, had 98 at home, 145 on the road. The next guy, John Stockton, 105 on the road, 130. You see a pattern? And on the road at home, 137. So these are just some of the numbers. And now when we go in and look at the numbers, so when you read the article, this is what I'm going to tell you. And shout out to Jacob, the big Clippers fan, for helping provide some of this, as well as my man Apex Jones, who does a tremendous job of just destroying Bron fans every day on social media, mainly on X. But here's the article. The article shows a lot of players with a gap, as you guys can see, between their home stats and away stats. Just because there's a slight bigger gap for Mike doesn't mean it was fake stats. For example, he had about a 2.3 more per game, what they call stocks, which is blocks and steals, at home than away in 87 and 88. In comparison, that's happened before with Mark Eaton in 1988 and 89, and Jaren Jackson Jr. as recently as 22-23, both 2+ more at home than away. Was theirs fake too? Secondly, the article provides plenty of anecdotal evidence, but absolutely, as I stated before, no video evidence. Kind of strange if you're going to claim stats were aided and fabricated without showing any video or even photo evidence. Isn't that strange? The article had a whole section dedicated for longtime Boston Globe media member Bob Ryan, who claimed he rarely looked at stats when voting for awards because he thought stats were fabricated in that era and earlier eras. Yet, he said that Jordan deserved the Defensive Player of the Year because he was the best defender that year via the eye test. This man was biased against MJ, by the way, and still said, without looking at stats, he deserved Defensive Player of the Year. And he voted for him at the time for it. Fourth, Nick Wright, and who I call Nick Wrong, and other uninformed Bron sexuals claim Mike had more steals than the other team had live turnovers. That's complete BS. First, you go off the word of the author and his, trust me, bro, I watched the film to believe this claim. Second, the numbers of the box score do not support this claim. The gentleman who wrote this said, I checked each box score of every game they claim to watch, 6 games total in the article, and the other team has a minimum of 3 times the turnover of Mike's steal amounts. Finally, go watch the games. Forget the stats. It is clear to anyone Michael was the best defender that year, And throughout his career, he's the best of the best on the wing. He has 9 all-defensive teams for a reason. I promise you, it's not because of blocks or steals numbers. Jerry West, the late Jerry West, salute to Jerry West and his family, one of the greatest GMs, one of the greatest basketball players ever, said this. But I don't think there's any question that if you're a great, great player, and certainly I'm not sure we've seen a player like him in my lifetime, because his impressive play on both ends of the court, he was arguably, well, I don't think arguably, he was the best offensive player and the best defensive player in the league. We haven't seen that. But the competitive nature of Michael was unique. This is Jerry West, an all-time top 20 great player. So stop the propaganda, folks, and listen to what the greats had to say about watching the greatest play. Michael Jordan had 94 steals and 47 blocks on the road in 1987-88. That's more steals and blocks than King James has had in 7 separate entire seasons. On the road, Jordan had it. Case over. Matter of fact, since we want to go into videos and we want to start questioning people, we can all do that too. So let's take a look. Let's see if I can find this article. Let's see. Let's take a look at some of the stats that was given to LeBron James since we want to open up this can of worms. Let's watch this. Check out this video.
LeBron is credited with the rebound. Rebound 6, Jackson Hayes, albeit not very controlled, still credited to LeBron. Rebound 8, it's goddamn JaVale McGee with another assist to LeBron James. Rebound number 10 is where LeBron slaps the ball toward Anthony Davis, and it is automatically considered controlled and a rebound in LeBron's record book. Keep that in mind as we take another look at rebound number 11. With a closer inspection, I see that Anthony Davis is, in fact, tapping that ball to LeBron James to keep it away from Sabonis, yet not credited to Anthony Davis. The very next rebound is hypocrisy, as this is considered a controlled tip to D'Angelo Russell. Suddenly, whenever it's LeBron hitting the ball, it's a controlled tip and therefore a rebound, yet it is consistently considered not a controlled tip when it's a teammate hitting to LeBron. Therefore, LeBron gets to take credit for the rebound. It's just a little too often that this always goes LeBron's way.
Look where LeBron gives this ball up. How many of you would expect to get credit for an assist on an outlet pass? Right? How many of you would expect that? Watch this. They gave LeBron an assist on that. I mean, if he would have shot it right here, I think we all agree. If LeBron shoots it right here, hey, man, really nice behind the back pass by LeBron. This would be an assist, right? Now watch what happens. Now, it was an assist according to the stat keeper, but I think to the rest of us, you're going to look at this and go, wait, they gave LeBron an assist on that. A pump fake, put the ball on the ground, and that, wow, they gave him an assist on that. Come on.
So, as you can see, 2 can play that game. If we want to start looking at what the assists and everything else that LeBron has or didn't have, 2 can play that game. I want to show you one more thing. Michael Jordan has a argument. I may or may not be able to show. Let's see if I can get the whole screen. Where is that at? I want to see if I can see it. I don't see it yet, so I'm going to just read it to you. And so we can go ahead and get out of here. Let's see this stat. Let me show you something. I'm going to talk about it because I don't know if you can see it on my screen. Defensive player of the year. We're talking about 88 defensive player of the year. And the article that Tom Haverstraw, Tom have a drink of Clutch Media straw stirred into it. Michael Jordan actually should have won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1987. Want to know why? Because Michael Cooper of the Los Angeles Lakers got that award. Let me show you Michael Cooper's stats over against Michael Jordan. Watch this. Now tell me who should have been Defensive Player of the Year, because guards rarely got it. So a guard had to do something exceptional. And with Michael Jordan and Alvin Robinson and Michael Cooper, and I believe Marcus Smart was the last to win it, that's how rare it is for a guard to win this award. So now let's take a look. If I told you player A had 125 blocks, that's a guard, 236 steals in 1987, 264 defensive rebounds, 5 DWS as far as defensive win share, and 2.4 defensive DPM. Player B had 43 blocks, 78 steals, 196 defensive rebounds, 2.3 DWS, 0.07 DPM. Guess who was Defensive Player of the Year that year? Player B, who had 43 blocks, 78 steals. That went to Michael Cooper of the Los Angeles Lakers. Michael Jordan was robbed tremendously in 1987 of the Defensive Player of the Year award. That's why he came back dog determined to win it in 88, which he did amongst MVP and everything else. So it's not only one year he should have won, he should have won in 1987 as well. So the next time you throw a glass or you throw a rock and you're sitting in a glass house, Tom Haberstraw, Nick Neverwright, and LeMedia, just understand we got rocks too. And we can show you with video evidence about your guy. We stand ready. That's why I said earlier, I'm pissed. I'm royally pissed. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. I promise y'all I'll be back a little bit more sooner than I have been. Just been busy. But thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Please also follow my Instagram page, Wealth Coach Steve. I do have a new YouTube channel that I'm starting. I've started up called Wealth Coach Steve that you can like and subscribe to and get some financial tips and learn some new things and hopefully become a client. But this is Sports Bucks with Steve. We had no music today. This is strictly I'm pissed, royally pissed.